Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, they have made up maybe the best duo in the NBA since last season, but this playoff was a much different story. Now, are the duo of Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic suddenly just that much worse? Or were there some mitigating factors that went into this overall performance this postseason? We're going to talk about all that and more on the debut of the NBA Finals here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome into Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper. This is your team every day. Shout out to y'all, Nuggets Nation. Shout out to all the Denver Nuggets fans around the world. This has been, oh boy, I'm still dealing and reeling with the fact that the Nuggets are not playing. And today is the day. The NBA Finals starts tonight. Boston Celtics versus the Dallas Mavericks in Boston. And it's going to be an incredible series. Let me know in the comment section who you're going with. Y'all, but today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Y'all, it's time to talk some Denver Nuggets basketball. The Denver Nuggets out in the second round, out in Game 7, 20-point lead in Game 7. If they would have beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, they would have had a chance to play versus the Dallas Mavericks. Man, and they just could not seem to muster up the energy. If you were with us on Tuesday, we talked about the fact that I do believe Joker is still the best in the world, and I'm not going to lie to you. The numbers say that, you know, there's a little bit of a gap between him and everybody else in the league, but, you know, you got to win, and you got to keep winning in order to solidify that. During the season, I and others were saying he was the best player since 2018 LeBron. I still maintain that. But at the end of the day, they don't get a win. Game 7, 34-19-7 for Nikola Jokic. Maybe if he's better in Game 1 or Game 6 to start off the game, the story might be different. But this is where we are. So I'm saying we're in a situation now where Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are going to go into this next season in a place they've never been. Typically, they've outperformed expectations. You know, in 2019, they lost in the second round, but they were the young guns, right? They're playing it versus Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Both of them had gotten in the league a little bit earlier than them. They were a little ahead of schedule at that point in time, number 2 seed in the NBA. And then the next year, they go to the Western Conference Finals, 2-3-1 comebacks, lose to the eventual Los Angeles champion LA Lakers. And then Jamal Murray goes down. So in those iterations, you get the Suns in 2021, where the Suns beat the brakes off the Nuggets with no Jamal Murray. The next year, no Jamal, no MPJ. They lose in 2022 first round to the Golden State Warriors, eventual NBA champions. And then they get everybody back on deck. And here we are. And they're slated to be this dynasty. They win a championship, and then they come back the next year, tie for the number 1 seed at 57 wins, and yet they're not able to get it done. But the question of Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic has been fresh in my mind, because if you look historically at this duo, they have been premier great. They've been clutch. They've been elite. Their shot making, their scoring, their creation, all that stuff has been there. And if you look at last year, track the numbers from last year, y'all. During the regular season last year, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, when they were on the court together, they had a plus 12.1 net rating. They were a 123.2 offensive rating and a 111 defensive rating. And they had a 70% assist percentage as well. They were shooting really well, had a 60.8% true shooting. But y'all, in the playoffs, they got even better. In the NBA playoffs last year, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic played 660 minutes together, 20 games played. They were a plus 13.2 net rating. They got even better in the playoffs. They were a 121.1 offensive rating, which is insane, and a 107.9 defensive rating, which is insane. And they had a 62.7% assist percentage, and then they also had a true shooting of 60 in the playoffs. All the way around, the duo was the best. And it really wasn't much of a conversation last year. They took care of business. They were dominant in every way that you need a duo to be dominant, and they scored on any and everybody when they needed to. And that was the thing that made them so good. You know, Bam and Jimmy last year, they played 22 games together. They had a +1 net rating, and they led all the way up going to the NBA Finals. But the Denver Nuggets, man, they were Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were a +4.1. They were triple the effectiveness last year in this playoff run. This year, though, let's get to the regular season. This year in the regular season for the Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic this year, they played 59 games together. They played 1,521 minutes. They were a +12. Let's see. They played 58 games together. They were a +15.3, y'all. What? Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic this year were a 125.3 offensive rating and a 110 defensive rating, a +15.3. Yo, this, again, everything leading into the playoffs was there. Everything leading into the playoffs was there. All of the information was there. And so what I want to do is I'm going to spend the rest of this segment on the regular season. Then we're going to talk about the playoffs. And I think some of the things that happened, because that to me is the storyline about the Nuggets, is did they become too over-reliant on those two? But y'all, this regular season, because they were coming off that championship energy, there was just so much synergy that existed between them. Because you remember this year more than ever, I would say that Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Aaron Gordon trio, they were better, arguably, than they have ever been. That trio this year was a +13.4 on the court. They played 1,162 minutes together. 1,162 minutes together. And they had a 62.5 true shooting over the course of the year. So what I love is that, so JR, I want to address this. So don't you think some of those stats are inflated a bit, because usually when Jamal and Joker play, it's the whole starting lineup? No, that's absolutely true. But I think the thing people got to realize is that the entire starting unit was the most effective starting unit in basketball on the basis of a minutes by minutes basis. So like if you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they had the best starting five in the league on net rating. But the Nuggets played like 500 more minutes than they did this year. And obviously that makes a lot of a difference when you're talking about, you know, just overall effectiveness as a whole. Like I said, this year, the Denver Nuggets starters played 958 minutes together. They were a +13.6. The next closest, y'all, was the Oklahoma City Thunder for Shea, Dort, Giddey, Holmgren, and J-Dub. And they had a +10.2 net rating. And then, like I said, the Milwaukee Bucks with 599 minutes played. So the Nuggets had basically almost 400 more minutes played than that Bucks group. They were a +15.1. So a lot of this is that I think the regular season, the energy was spent so highly because they were playing such heavy minutes with the starters, and then they were also integrating a lot of young guys over the course of this year. I just think a lot of that, it played into how effective the Nuggets were able to be come playoff time. Because if you would have told me, man, that if I was watching this team when they played together, and then also too, I think when Jamal Murray, I think this number is correct, I believe it is, I could be one off, when Jamal Murray scored 20 or more points this year, I think the Denver Nuggets were 29-6. So some of this, it's like Joker, best player in the world. And then when Jamal is like tapped into his bag as a scorer, the Nuggets become dang near indomitable, because when they have that level of scoring next to Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon and KCP and MPJ, that just allows so much room for opportunity and for growth for everybody on the roster. That's why they were so spectacular. And I think that is the frustrating thing on this end of it, is that the Nuggets had so much opportunity in front of them to be able to capitalize on how good this duo was. But it just looks like they legitimately just kind of ran out of gas. And we're going to talk about that in the playoffs and maybe some of the things that might need to change as well when we get to segment 3, y'all. But y'all, we're going to do it for this segment. We'll be back here at Locked On Nuggets. Oh, game time, y'all. Look, Game Time makes the NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier to get. The prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So again, you got game one tonight of the NBA Finals, Celtics versus the Mavericks. If you're listening to this and you're a Dallas fan in Boston, or you're a Dallas fan when they get back to Dallas, you're a Boston fan looking for late time tickets, look, you can look at the Game Time app and see if you can buy some tickets that are going to be available for you at the best price possible. And y'all, take the guesswork out of buying NBA Final tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Y'all, we'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, we are back here at Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper. This is your team every day. Shout out to y'all. Y'all, make sure if you're listening to this on Apple iTunes, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. That way we can get more and more people tapped into what we're doing here at Locked On Nuggets. And y'all, if you are watching this on YouTube, give us a like, share, and subscribe. That way we can get more and more people following us here on the Locked On Nuggets channel. Y'all subscribe to the channel on the way to 8,000 subscribers, y'all. Let's talk Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in the playoffs, y'all. And this is when everything kind of just fell apart. Oh, my gosh. Now, I'm not going to hold y'all. If you would have asked me my thoughts on how the Denver Nuggets would play in the playoffs, I would have told you that based on everything I saw in the regular season, that they were going to come out swinging and that they were going to be hunting because they wanted to go win their second straight title. But on this end, when you look at the playoff, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, they just ran into a little bit of a wall, it feels like. Now, if you look at the net rating, in the first 5 games of the playoffs, they played 161 minutes together. They had a 111.4 defensive rating. You know, it's not crazy, but they had a 117.1 offensive rating. Again, also not crazy. Now, they shot worse. They had a 57.2% true shooting. They had a 2.75 assist to turnover ratio. And if you look at the assist numbers, they had a 64.7% assist percentage. Now, what does this tell me? Now, some of this is that I think just the way they were being covered, they were just trying to find ways to work around Jamal Murray's calf injury. But because of the nature of the offense and how they were distributing the looks, he was taking a lot of shots. And so, look, I'm not going to lie to y'all. There's a lot of comments on Twitter, a lot of comments here about trading Jamal Murray and all that. Look, y'all, I understand the frustration. I understand he's not been an all-star. I have talked about this as well. I get that he was a little bit labored and everything else. But, y'all, the dude just literally averaged 26, 5, and 7 on 39% from 3 and 93% from the line on the way to an NBA Finals, literally not even a year ago. So I understand 1,000% that the season did not end the way people wanted it to end. But y'all, we got to give a little bit of breathing room. Winning a title is difficult. I cannot stress that enough. Michael Jordan didn't even win a title every year. When Michael Jordan came back, they got dog walked by the Orlando Magic the year that they played in the playoffs. Shaquille O'Neal walked them down as a youngin'. Like LeBron James, 4-6 in the NBA Finals in his career. LeBron James has lost in the first round. Now, he lost in the first round in 2021, and then he lost this year in the first round. LeBron James has been swept in the playoffs, in the finals. Kareem has been walked out of playoff series before. Like every player you can think about, every iteration of a team you can think about, they have lost. Kobe Bryant, the year that Dirk Nowitzki got his NBA title, remember, he beat the Portland Trail Blazers with Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge. And then the year after Kobe wins a title, they seed the Mavericks in the second round. The Mavericks are not the favorite in that series. And Paul Gasol and Kobe Bryant, they got swept. Done for. Cooked. And then that same year, KD and Russ lose. And then that same year, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh lose in the NBA Finals. And they get walked down to do it. And LeBron was terrible in that series. That stuff happens. Like, a lot of the stuff that's happening is that I think people are so caught into Jokic is the best player in the world, 1,000%. But even when you're best in the world, it's so difficult to win every year in back-to-back. The last time we had a back-to-back champion, it took Kevin Durant and Steph Curry to get it done. And before that, it was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. And then before that, it was Kobe Bryant, Paul Gasol, Lamar Odom, Bynum, and the rest of them boys. And before that, it was Shaq and Kobe. And before that, it was Pippen and Jordan. And before that, it was Magic and Kareem. And before that, it was Larry and the squad that they had. And before that, and then with that, in that same era, it was Isaiah Thomas. So what I'm saying is everything comes down to you have to be lucky, you got to be healthy. And again, I think y'all misunderstanding. Jamal is not MJ. He is not the best player in any of these scenarios. Jamal is the secondary option. But even for when you have a figure that's like the best of their era, it takes everybody. It takes everyone in order to make it work. And again, this year, Jamal didn't play well. Jokic also could have played better at different points in time. Porter was incredible in the first round. 22 points a game on like a 69 true shooting, 45 from 3 was incredible. But then he was trash in the second round. Now, some of that is because of everything that he's dealing with. Absolutely. And he's even talked about that. He's even talking about that. Like, when you talk about what happens throughout an NBA player's career, there are ebbs and flows to success. Tim Duncan never repeated in his career. He never repeated. And he has 5 of them. 5 never repeated. So I want people to have a little bit of a long-term view. Just that Jamal has an opportunity to redeem himself. Jokic has one. MPJ has one. And then if KCP comes back, and then the rest of this roster. So I think a lot of people are just really, really hung up on this. And again, I'm gonna be real with y'all. If you look at the totality of the playoff this year, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were a minus 2.2 in their minutes played together. They played 390 minutes. They lost the minutes they were on the court together this playoffs. That's horrific. Terrible. Can't happen. It can't happen. KCP and Jokic were a plus 1.6 this year. But all the other lineups, Murray, Gordon, Jokic, Murray, Porter, Jokic, Porter, Murray, they were all in the minus. All of them. Christian Brown and Jokic, now they were a plus 9.4. Again, that was mostly the bench units they were playing against. But I just think people, y'all, like, sometimes it just takes a little bit of nuance and understanding that the Mavericks literally did not make the playoffs last year. And people said that Luka and Kyrie was a failing project. Like, the owner legitimately, purposely tanked the end of the season. I mean, you could be the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers, they've been a championship or bust team every year, but they can't get Kawhi and PG on the court healthy together, even as good as they are. You've seen Embiid, MVP, best scorer in the league in the regular season, Tyrese Maxey, all-star, James Harden, an all-NBA player. They didn't win a title. Like, Russ and Harden didn't win a title. CP3 and Harden didn't win a title. And they were dominant, a great team. It takes a lot. in order to win a title. So we're going to talk about a little more of this on the other side too, because I want to get to what needs to happen next for this duo and for the Nuggets going forward. We'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Now, y'all, again, there's always action on PrizePicks, and this is the perfect time to try out something new as basketball is winding down. Make sure you try out esports this month, because every Wednesday and Saturday in June, if your lineup doesn't win, you'll get your entry fee back. Choose from Counter-Strike 2, Call of Duty, League of Legends, and more. PrizePicks offered injury insurance so that your lineup can stay in play even if one of your players gets injured this playoff basketball season and in the NBA Finals. If you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, PrizePicks will have your back and not count that as a loss. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We'll be right back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. Woosah. 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 We are back here for segment 3 of Locked On Nuggets. Shout out to y'all. Thank y'all for everybody that's in here watching this episode live. Thank you for everybody that is here watching this after the fact as well. I get it. I understand. We are upset. Everybody in Nuggets Nation is upset. Y'all know I'm from Park Hill, Denver, Colorado. I am from Park Hill. I've been through it with y'all. Look, Kane, I don't know where you from, but look, Nick Van Exel, Antonio McDyess, Robert Pack, Carmelo Anthony, Nene Hilario, Marcus Camby, Chauncey Billups, J.R. Smith, Najero, who else was on those roster? Nicholas Titaskively. Like, keep going up and down the list. Lennis Kleza. I've seen it. We've been through it. We've lost. We have lost. I understand. But, y'all, the next step for the Nuggets is going to be, how do they continue to build an offense around Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray that is not overly reliant on the duo? Now, different people have different opinions on this. I do think that an integration of Michael Porter Jr. and an integration of KCP and an integration of another offensive threat and Aaron Gordon, obviously, is going to be really, really important. They need to continue to build an offense. That way, if Jamal is hampered like he was in the playoffs, they have something else they can go to. Because I think one of the things that was most frustrating is that they kept trying to run into the two-man game, and the Timberwolves in particular were most well-suited to defend it because that is the way they constructed their roster. They built it to be such a defense that when they're facing a team like the Nuggets, they can throw length, athleticism, and aggression at those players. And that is what helped them to win. That is what helped them to win that series. But again, all this is null and void if Jamal Murray is 100%, I believe. Now, again, I know that's not what people want to hear, but again, if you look at the overall numbers in the season, they were literally great this year. The team was great. The duo was great this year. But they got hampered, and it happens. So I think having a long-term outlook on this team is important. Once again, when the Nuggets had Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic on the court in the regular season, they won their minutes by a plus 15.3. Won their minutes by a plus 15.3. And again, the Nuggets have decisions to be made about Jamal Murray's contract, 1,000%. But some of this is still going to come down to they have to find a way to continue to integrate other players around it. Because what happened is that they got into this situation versus the Timberwolves, and Jamal Murray was chucking up shots, and MPJ was floating around on the perimeter, and Aaron Gordon was getting off, but they just did not have another thing they could tap into or should have tapped into in order to help the team get better. And I think a lot of this is, me and Matt Moore talked about this prior to. I fully believe that in order for the Nuggets to go back to back, that Jamal Murray was going to have to be what he was last year, because the team is built around that. And I think some of this is too, like when you look at Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, Kyrie not so great versus the Thunder, was really good versus the Clippers, was excellent versus the Timberwolves. And he carried when Luka was hobbled and not playing well, and then Luka carried when Kyrie wasn't playing well. But they were really good last series. And again, in this NBA final, they're going to need to be great to beat the Boston team. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, 5 Eastern Conference finals, I believe, together. Played really good basketball. They've been really dominant. Both of them have been all NBA level players. I think what I'm trying to communicate is that if you do not have another guy that's an all-star, all-NBA level player on your roster, and especially when you're a big, you need a guard that's hitting shots, creating space, playmaking, facilitating, and getting to the rim enough to be able to take pressure off the big. And I think Jamal going to have to make improvements to his game. He's going to have to make improvements to his game. Because, again, I see people bringing up in the chat that Jokic and AG might be the real Nuggets duo and all that stuff, and I get it. They are really good together. Jokic and AD, a plus 10.9 this year. But Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. are not primary ball handlers. And you cannot, in the NBA, have an elite center, an all-time great center even, and not have a primary ball handler that can take advantage of the gravity they're creating on the inside of the paint. Whether it's Shaq, who needed Kobe and D. Wade, whether it's Kareem, who needed Oscar Robertson and Magic, and even Hakeem had a really good roster around them. So AG is going to be in this scenario where he's always going to be successful because he's playing next to and off of Joker. But because he's not a primary shooter and a primary scorer and a primary playmaker, he just cannot be their main cog, and neither can Michael Porter Jr. So again, all of this stuff comes down to Joker and Jamal. They just have to build like a tertiary offense around them. That way they can get enough life support out of those other players when they need to. But again, this is going to be the test of time for Jamal. We talked about this a little bit. This is going to be it. Now we're all watching the NBA finals. We're all watching the conference finals in both conferences. Jaylen Brown just got Eastern Conference Player of the Series. He just got the Larry Bird Trophy. Jason Tatum got first team All-NBA this year, and Jaylen Brown was good enough to take it. Last year, Jamal Murray averaged 32, 5, and 5 versus the Lakers in the conference finals. 50, 40, 90. Him and Steph are the only players to be able to do that for real. And Jamal showed that he can do it. He raised his level of play even higher than Jaylen Brown and Kyrie did in these last 2 rounds. So he can do it because he's done it. But again, the same thing, it's always going to be the same thing about Jamal. Jamal has to wake up to this and say, I'm demanding consistent greatness out of myself. Consistent greatness. And again, me and Ryan Blackburn have had some arguments. 3 of the last 4 playoffs have been somewhat impacted by Jamal Murray's injuries. But again, you can't blame injuries on a player, especially like a calf strain and all that kind of stuff. So ultimately, the duo was far good enough in the regular season. Far more than good enough in the regular season. And they're going to need to find ways to truly be able to carry that over as they get into the year. Like, that's going to be really important for them. But again, this is going to come down to, can they build a competent roster outside, or a competent offense rather, outside of Jamal and Joker, so that they can take advantage of the sheer gravity and the amount of points that they're creating on a game-by-game basis. And again, I believe that they can, but now it's just going to be about how do you optimize what you're doing around your all-time great player. But again, I understand it's an emotional time. I get it. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Do you think the Denver Nuggets still have the best duo in the NBA? Do you think that the Nuggets just need to give it one more year? Or are you saying they need to go ahead and make a trade and get a different player in that duo? Y'all know what time it is. This is Locked On Nuggets. This is your boy Swiper. I see y'all on the other side. We out.